All right, we're on. Cool beans. Okay, we're moving to our 9:30 briefing. This is Monday. What is today? October 5th. Moving to our briefing. Going around the Zoom room. We have Commissioner Netherland, Commissioner Schutte, myself, Kelly Frazier, Jennifer Byerly, Frank Pinter, and Loretta. Who do you have in your room?
Mike is with me here, Mike Collins.
All right. Loretta, go ahead and take her away.
Okay. Our first briefing item, commissioners, is to talk about our HVAC system here at the Public Works facility. And this system's been in operation since 2009. And over the past, at least 4 years, maybe longer that I can think of, we've had frequent calls and challenges with balancing heat and cold throughout the system. And we've tried to get to the bottom of it. Kelly can probably, I see Kelly's on board here as well, attest to some of the trials and tribulations with that. We recently had a company come out to take a look at and make recommendations for the system, and found that we most likely have some NEC code update work to happen. There were discrepancies between what was actually designed and what was installed. So communications aren't working the way they should, which has led to the repeated visits with no resolution to fixing the problem. So what we received was an estimate of approximately $100,000 worth of work to do a system upgrade to the controls. And with that, Kelly, do you have anything to add specific from your observations?
No, I think you said it all. What it is, it's a system that is not a web-based system. It's a system that only that company can get in and work on our control system. The new system will be a web-based, and I will be able to do it from my desk. They will have a place up at Public Works and get onto their computer and raise and lower the temperatures. Kind of like I do at the jail here, I can do it right from my desk. And be remotely, no matter if I go on vacation or whatever, I'll be able to log into that system and be able to fix it. And the Bradley Air, who is our main people who fix it, is a tech on that system, and he knows how to run that system. So it's a win-win situation for us.
And in terms of the effects, so we certainly have the code compliance issues or non-compliance, and then just pure comfort. And that may sound like a luxury, but boy, there are times when we are just roasting out of the office, and it's, you just cannot operate. It's very, very uncomfortable, and no ability to control that. So that's what we're requesting, is to do some work and go out and get proposals for an upgrade to the system.
There's no doubt I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kelly.
The bigger the system, the more complex it is, and that will control all the building 2, the steam in building 2, the heated floors in building 2, all of building 1. And unfortunately, it used to be just as easy as hitting a little thermometer, and the lead went one way and it was hotter, and the other way it went cooler. But it's not that way now. They really came a long ways, and it's a money savings thing to be able to run this thing efficiently. So, I mean, it's not always simpler to go the old-fashioned way, unfortunately.
Just out of curiosity, is it per zone?
Yes, each has a different zone, and bringing in fresh air from the outside inside to meet the compliance of how much carbon monoxide and all that we have in it. It reads all that. It's a cool system.
Mhm.
How, with the potential upgrade, what kind of ongoing maintenance issues? I mean, obviously, if it's new, you would hope there wouldn't be anything like that. But is this a system we can help maintain in-house, or will we always need to kind of continue to go out for outside help, or how complex is it?
This new system will actually be able to be done in-house by somebody up there. Usually Kelly Metcalf does that up there, and or myself or the tech will be able to get online and be a web-based. It's a web-based program, so that they can go on and adjust and do whatever they have to do right there online. But we will be able to do, I would say, 95%. Once the programming is done, we will be able to do all that.
Historically, I had heard about the problems of the different heating and cooling in the different areas. Is that still the main issue, or is the machinery bad now? And if it is the main reason, could we have a savings by splitting the baby and having the system that's currently in place service one part and a newer system service another part?
I believe the system itself, the units themselves are working fine, and we've done very well with them. It is the programming and the controlling of the system that at this point we have no control over how to do that. They whenever that was installed where they basically kind of locked us out of the system, and we have to call them and get them to come on and help us raise and lower our temperatures, or turn the system on or off, or zone it from here to there. With this new system, we will be able to do that all by ourselves.
But doesn't that seem a little over the top? If the machinery and everything is working well, and that's not the issue, aren't we better off bringing somebody out to reroute how it functions? Or, like I said, split the baby and have it function the one part that you still have control over or can control, and bring in another system for another part of the building.
Correct. I believe, and Loretta, correct me if I'm wrong, that's kind of what we're trying to do, is bring in a new controlling system.
That's exactly what we're doing, Commissioner. What you're suggesting is what the proposal is doing.
So the equipment would
So
stay.
updating controls and updating communications so that we can control the various zones ourselves.
So this $100,000 to update the controls?
Correct. Controls and cable. There's some question about whether the appropriate cable, communication cable, was used initially in the initial install. And that's, I believe, a good part of the problem with our communications as well.
And we'll still have to go out for bid, correct?
Yes.
So the cabling issue is when you're in an area and you use that as a plenum, which means the air returns to that area. That is a plenum, and then it recirculates that air and mixes the air. The wire has to be plenum graded, and I believe that wire was not plenum graded.
Correct, Kelly. That's my understanding as well.
Commissioners, I'm supportive of moving forward, but I'd like to see the proposal before it goes out. And of course, we wouldn't accept a bid unless we see it.
Same, I'm good with that.
I'm good.
All right, thank you, commissioners, and thank you to Kelly for his expertise and assistance on this. And we'll continue to work together and bring our results back to you, commissioners.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And you still have a couple more items?
Yep, Mike would like to share with you the results of some bids that we received on 2 projects.
Good morning. Number one is Valley Rose Colbert. Valley Rose Colbert is a area that we had a little bit of flooding on, and we're replacing an existing structure and adding a new structure with a tide gate. And with the amount of work that we had this year, we decided to go ahead and go out to bid on this. And so we did get two bids. One was Roglan's for $38,000, and the other one was Iverson and Son for $25,000. We would recommend to award it to Iverson and Son for the $25,000, but I'm going to recommend to remove the aluminum tide gate, item number 6. They bid for $3,000. I worked out an arrangement with Jeremy to build that tide gate ourselves for about $400, and we'll slap it on in the end. So we'll take about $3,000 off of that.
Well, that's sweet.
So the second item would be the infamous North Shore Ecology block wall. We've been that's been an issue for about 3 years running now. We have two bids on that. One is Roglan's for $134,000. The other is Sound Excavation, and their bid was $216,000. So we reviewed the items and the list and comparing it to the engineer's estimate, and we recommend to award it to Roglan's for $134,000.
Quite a difference in price.
It is.
Quite a difference in price. That depends on who wants it or not. So a lot of times.
That's true.
So,
Any questions on those two projects, commissioners?
None from me, commissioners.
No, not for me.
Okay, we will plan to announce then at the next commission meeting, correct?
On
The award?
Right, so that does not have to, it's not emergent, right? So we can do
No.
it on the 13th. Is that right, Diane?
Yeah.
Oh, no, on the 20th, sorry. Yeah, the 20th is good?
I believe so. Mike, that won't hold us. Okay.
Good.
Yes, 20th will be good.
Awesome.
All right. And then if commissioners like, Mike can give you a quick update on some of the projects that we've got going as we're wrapping up our good weather construction and maintenance work and what our look ahead is.
That'd be great.
I just wanted to mention that the road crews have done an excellent job here in the last week. They chip sealed for the Skokomish tribe some of their roads. Again, that was something that have been working on for a couple of years. They worked. The tribe had come in and finally cleaned up their area for us to be able to do our work, and it turned out really good. We also did a paving job up on Trails in Loop. That's 0.6 miles of the Trails in Loop there. We put a 2-inch overlay on it. And then today we're actually beginning the process to start the replacement of the Great Bend culvert. That's a temporary culvert. We worked it out with fisheries to be able to put a temporary culvert in there to reduce the flooding in the area, and it reduces our maintenance costs too. The caveat is that we will still follow through with the replacement of this culvert in the future. We have a RAP funding for that, but it is at this point in time, I think 2022 funding. So if we put this pipe in now, we won't have to come out during the winter storms and do the excavation work that we've been doing here in the last few years. So I understand since the 2007 storm, this has been a real problem, this culvert here. And so we're excited about getting that prepped up today, and we'll start actually excavating to replace the culvert tomorrow.
Wow, that's cool.
The staff, the crews, they're doing an excellent job. So.
Fantastic. Yeah, you've got quite the crew out there. I think they do a great job.
Yep.
All right, commissioners. I think so. Last week, Commissioner Nevin, you were asking about an update on the SR 300 paving project, and that DOT is planning to go out to bid here in December, and that will be a spring project for DOT early in 2021.
Thank
Any
you.
other follow? You're welcome. And I think that's about it on our end, commissioners.
Anything else for Loretta?
Yeah, I have a couple of quick items. First, Loretta, appreciate your and Mike's time last week going out and with Chief Wheelander looking at the 800 road. So just wanted to say a word of thanks for that. Also wanted to check in and see where we were with getting the speed data information from Island Lake, when we anticipated having that.
Yes. So we do have the speed data, and I believe Tim Rhodes was checking in on, there was something goofy about how the data was printing out about the location, and they were getting that corrected from the manufacturer. So as soon as that's done, we're ready to roll.
Okay. And then,
do we have
oh, go ahead.
Oh, do we have a small community meeting perhaps planned coming up on that, or should I follow up with?
Yeah, so I spoke to one of the folks over there, and they're kind of rounding some dates up. So I threw out some dates, okay, and they're checking with their group, and I think Fire District 11 will be their location, and of course keeping the group small, and they said that there's plenty of room for distancing and that kind of thing. So we'll just kind of manage through that, but they're going to let me know. Hopefully I hear today. They've been working on it for a few days now, so I'll make sure I follow up with you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. And then the other question is, a few weeks ago, I had asked about checking in with DOT about some lighted crosswalk beacons around Toronto State Park, and just wanted to know, yes, if you had a chance to connect with DOT on that.
Yes, Dave did, and they gave us the standard generic answer that it meets safety requirements. We need to do some pushing is the short answer on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can.
But we will follow up. Dave did.
Okay. We can check back in on that. And then the other item that I had for both staff and the commission was just starting again to think about capital budget requests heading into the 2021 session. I'd be particularly interested in seeing some recommendations from Loretta from the utilities and waste side, in particular with the transfer station. I know there's a host of projects that need to be completed there, but if we could find a couple that might be ripe for some design money or capital budget expenditures in that way, I think that would be really helpful as we start gearing up. Certainly interested in hearing the commission's thoughts on that, but that would be where I would be leaning, to try to see some plan from utilities and on that, and how we can maybe tap into the capital budget to help with some of those projects.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that should be at the top of our list as far as the capital budget requests go.
We don't ask, the answer is no. Let's ask.
Thank you, commissioners. Definitely appreciate your support and recognizing that as a top priority, because we absolutely feel the same.
Great.
We've also got Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner.
No, I was just going to say, so, I think in the next, I know we're rolling into budget here today, kicks that all off. But, as we start looking at the capital facilities plan side of things, it'd be great if you and Richard could bring forward, a couple of top ticket items that we could start to kind of narrow down our requests.
Will do. That, and I know that Victor has been, is already diving in and anxious to contribute as well.
We'll take him up on it.
Most definitely.
We're excited to have him aboard.
We all are. Along the finance side of things, we just received also a call for projects for our FLAP funding again. And that might be another, not might, Mike and I have been talking about scoping an additional request in the Skokomish Valley as well. So
great.
We're working on that and plan to bring that forward, commissioners.
Very good. That was all I had.
I don't think I
thank you.
at this point in time anyway.
And Commissioner Netherlands waving, that must be we're all good, okay? All right, great. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. All right, and I see the prosecutor is here. So shall we move on to the briefing from the prosecutor's office? I think going around the Zoom room again, we have Commissioner Netherland, Commissioner Schutte, myself, Mike Dorcy, Kelly Frazier, Jennifer Byerly, Frank Pinter, and Tiffany Thompson. Do we have anybody else?
Looks like Kat Scheibner just joined.
Oh, yeah.
And Kat's with CPS. There's a couple more. I am expecting some more of our multidisciplinary team to join on to, at a minimum, observe and listen and lend support, and also to hopefully be available to answer questions if the commission has any that I can't answer.
Great. Oh, there you are, Mike.
Ready when I am? Okay. I'm gonna finish the text message here. Give me 1 second. So what we have, I'm not sure where to start, but I'll start, I guess, with a little background. When there are criminal investigations that involve child victims, most frequently physical abuse or sexual abuse of children, the interview of those children is a fairly specialized thing. We do have, on occasion, as they get training, some officers who have training in interview of children, but it's a pretty specialized thing for some pretty important reasons when it comes to interviewing a child, just due to their susceptibility and the ability to influence them, among a lot of other things. And I see that Sue has joined and is one of our interviewers. We have historically in Mason County gone to the Monarch Children's Justice Center in, gosh, where is it? I want to say Lacey. Yeah, I was going to say Olympia, but I think it's farther than that. So it's in Lacey. And so when there are criminal investigations involving child victims of physical or sexual abuse, arrangements need to be made for those families to get that child all the way to Lacey at an appointed time to complete a forensic interview of the child before the criminal investigation can continue proceeding. Absent some exigent circumstances, that's the way it works. That's the way it typically goes. And it's been a bit of a it's been a great relationship, but it's a bit of a hardship for a lot of families, especially when we have families in North Mason County. That just adds that much farther to the transportation requirements and the scheduling difficulties, and throw into the mix language barriers and lower income families, and it becomes an issue getting that done sometimes. And we have a multidisciplinary team. We meet every other Tuesday. I think it's the second and fourth Tuesday.
Yep.
We all meet. It includes representatives from the law enforcement agencies, from the child interviewers, the medical side for medical examinations of the children. It includes advocates, both for my office, which is Tiffany, and then also community-based advocates. And we meet regularly, and we staff these cases. But one of the other things we've been doing, and Sue, I might ask if it's okay with the commission. Is it okay if I ask Sue to kind of speak up a little bit too?
Oh, absolutely.
Sue Villa, like I said, is one of our child interviewers and has been can probably give more information and background on the specific grant that's involved, which included updating our child sexual assault investigation protocols, but also which is part of it, but the need to and the desire that we have to locate a place here in Mason County where we can bring children and have families bring children to complete these forensic child interviews. As I explained in the briefing item summary form, just before I have Sue take over on the background for what we need and kind of how that works. I did start informally with some county staff, including Mr. Pinter, and then I ended up speaking with Kelly Frazier. The sheriff's office contacted me and said that they became aware, and I'm not sure how that connection got made, that we were looking for that space, trying to identify some space within the county campus. And I'm not sure what to call it, if it has another county name, and I tried to learn it for my briefing summary, and I was unable to, so I just called it the old rectory. But right across the street from the sheriff's office, which is a perfect location. It's near the courthouse. It's near the prosecutor's office. Most importantly, it's near the sheriff's office, and certainly not far from the police department, because law enforcement attends these interviews also. And it's with the exception of a couple of minor alterations, if it were to be a long-term home, it seems to be a very suitable location to easily make usable for this purpose. And it's not being used for a lot else right now. And I think what we hope to accomplish today is to kind of let the commission know what it is that's going on, what we're doing, what we need. And preliminarily, it looks like it's kind of tentatively been offered up and will work for the purpose. And then, so the next step, I think, is going to be just identifying what it is that the county would need to see, and to talk about what it would take to make that, at a minimum, the temporary home, and then as we continue to work on a middle and long-term home for what is now named, I believe, the Mason County Safe and Sound Child Advocacy Center. Sue?
Yep. So I'll just give kind of an overall summary so that you follow along. The Monarch Children's Justice and Advocacy Center is under the umbrella of the Community Action Council of Lewis, Mason, and Thurston counties. So Community Action Council, I'm not sure how long it's been in Mason County, but it's been there a long time. And then we are underneath of their supervision, but we're our own agency. And Monarch has been running its own child advocacy center for close to 20 years now. I could find you the exact date. I don't have it right off the top of my head, but it's been a long time. And in 2017, federal funding was released to provide grant money to pay for forensic interviewers. They determined that nationwide that was really something that needs to be supported as a forensic interviewing program to work with law enforcement in prosecution of cases through the child advocacy model. So I became full-time. I was part-time contract worker until 2017, and then I became full-time. And we've been providing interview services for Mason County since before I was involved, and I started doing forensic interviewers in 2013. So I know it's been more than 10 years that we've been providing these services to Mason County. But as Mike explained, it really is a burden, and especially on the lower income families that have struggles with transportation and that sort of thing. So recently, the National Children's Alliance, which is the accreditation body of all child advocacy centers, accredited child advocacy centers, of which Monarch is one, has they made available funding to try to support the creation of child advocacy centers in the smaller counties nationwide. So this isn't just in Washington, this is nationwide. They're really trying to put some money behind getting these services moved out into the more rural areas. And so we knew that this grant was coming, and in preparation for that, the Monarch decided to make an effort to create satellite centers in Shelton and in Centralia. Centralia was already pretty well established. They've been trying to create a child advocacy center for close to 10 years now and haven't really had the structure behind it, but they came under Monarch's supervision last year, and so now they're moving forward quite rapidly. We immediately made arrangements when we knew these grants would be available. We made arrangements to try to start a multidisciplinary team meeting in Mason County in preparation for submitting a request for the funding for development of Mason County Child Advocacy Center. So we started doing our MDT meetings in, I think, September of last year. So we've been doing it a little over a year. And of course, the pandemic hit in March. One thing I want to say about Mason County that is really important and I think special is that the cohesiveness of the team is extraordinary. And I work with jurisdictions in multiple counties, and no county is as consistent in attending interviews as our Mason County law enforcement personnel are. They're really, really good about it. And that's important because it makes the whole prosecution process more efficient. They're not just reading a report and then having to take out the time to watch the interview, which is recorded. They're actually there and they can give feedback and make sure that we ask the questions that they need asked at the time of the interview, which is a big benefit to the program. So we've been doing the multidisciplinary team meetings. They've been going really, really well. We've been incorporating new partners into the meeting. Now we've got DOC victim advocates attending sometimes. There's other CPS is there. We've got a nice group that shows up. BHR is active. And so then beginning in December of last year, Monarch created a position which was ultimately split and I took half the responsibilities, and Jamie Lynn Bloom, who was the other forensic interviewer, also took half of the responsibilities toward creation of these satellite centers. So we've really been working hard on getting these centers up and running and approved to be essentially standalone satellite centers. That application is due in November. Well, no, it's due in December, but they're really pressuring us to have it turned in November because they all want to take, I think, the month of December off, which I understand. So we're really coming down to the crunch time of getting this application turned in and outline how we're going to be able to run this program in the community. And we're very, very close to that. We're ready to turn the application in. Mike did a great job identifying the space and describing it. It'll work perfectly. Really, we really only need, well, 3.5 rooms. I don't know, is there a half room? What do you call a bathroom? We need an interview room. We need a waiting room for the parents, and we need an observation room for law enforcement. And those 3 rooms are all available in this old rectory, for lack of another term for it. There is a bathroom in it. It's small. At some point, the center would need to be ADA compliant, and at the moment it's not, but we have learned that that will not prevent us from becoming approved as a satellite center as long as we provide an alternative place for us to do interviews in a child-friendly setting. And we can do that at the Community Action Council office, which is also in Shelton. The reason we can't use the we could use a Community Action Council office. They're not preferable because they all have desks in them that are set up to divide right down the middle of the room, which is kind of a barrier to friendly interviews with kids. And we could also use, they have a conference room. We'd have to erect a, temporary wall or a barrier to create a sense of privacy. Those are not ideal situations. So if we could have a dedicated space that we could have our equipment set up, ready to use, we would be able to move forward and do these interviews as soon as we were given permission to use the building. We've already ordered a state-of-the-art recording unit to record the interviews. That funding came from another grant. And they just awarded another big grant that will fund another forensic interviewer position, which will really make it so that we can not necessarily have a dedicated forensic interviewer to Mason County, but we will have much more forensic interviewer capacity to work out of multiple locations without stress for our drive time and trying to meet all of our other needs in Thurston County. So it's a big deal. We're going to start interviewing for that position probably within the next month. So all of this is really kind of coming together at the same time. We're going to get our application turned in. And we're really excited to be moving forward with all of this. It's going to be really great for the families in Mason County. So that's my short description of everything, but I welcome any questions, and I believe the other half of my position has probably signed in by now. I can't see everybody at once because I'm having to use my phone.
Jamie Lynn's on.
Okay. So Jamie Lynn could answer other questions as well, and I can answer questions that I didn't think of to address just in my little spiel.
And I had a couple other things to throw out, but I don't know how much time really that we have with you this morning, commissioners. And so I certainly want to be sensitive to any questions or comments you may have also first.
Oh, I'm ready to listen.
Well, what I was going to throw out, I hope it was clear in the briefing summary materials for today, but I think what we're hoping for is at a minimum just the official blessing to it will, with my apologies to Joel, it will involve relocating the chaplain, I understand. But other than that, there's really nothing in the way other than a little bit of cleanup and moving some stuff that's being stored, which the sheriff's office tells me they have a place to move it to getting started as at least a temporary home with really no changes at all and no cost to the county at all. With the possibility that as things move forward, if we're going to be able to make it kind of the long-term site for the child advocacy center for Mason County, a couple of doorways may need to be widened out. The bigger deal is going to be the bathroom. It didn't sound like Kelly was too stressed out about it in terms of how to make it work, if in fact we ever got that far. So there could be some time involved, although I don't want to speak for the other part of it because I don't have the details, but it's my understanding that there is the potential for a little bit of money from the grant to be able to defray the cost of some of that. But
Correct.
We do need, correct me if I'm wrong, Sue or Jamie Lynn, we do need to have at least a temporary home very, very soon. And that seems like a suitable spot. And it's not really being used for much else right now. And so that's kind of what we're looking at and hoping for.
Mike, when
Yep.
we first put that building underneath the sheriff's department, it was done for a specific purpose of, I don't know how to say it openly right now. We need to double check and make sure that that's no longer needed. And I'll talk to you offline to discuss what that was, if you don't remember.
I do. I think, well, I don't want to be presumptuous, but I think I know what you might be referring to, and I understand why it maybe isn't the best thing to talk about it right now. But I'll connect with you after the fact. I don't think that's an issue.
Thank you.
And if I may, the only thing I want to add is, so in 2018, and I apologize, I'm Jamie Lynn, I'm Sue's counterpart, and I'm not sure what Mike provided you guys. So this may be information that you already have in front of you, but I want you to know that Monarch provided 43 interviews in 2018 to children from Mason County, and then in 2019, that was up to 56. Our numbers this year are going to be skewed thanks to COVID-19. I think we're pretty low, but I think we were on par to do even more. But then also one thing that I want to make sure everyone knows is that the distance that families are having to travel. So the families that are coming from Shelton to go to Monarch was 25 miles one way. Well, Monarch actually just moved over to the Community Action Council, or we're in the process of it. So that ups it to 30 miles one way just to come to the forensic interview. So we're hoping to take that transportation barrier away with having a forensic interviewer or child advocacy center right there in Mason County.
And it has been a barrier in a few cases, and that's too bad. And I guess the other thing, not that it's really any kind of driving force, but because it's so important for law enforcement to attend, that's also an hour of driving just for your detectives to go, in addition to the families having to get there to attend these interviews. And I didn't all I put in, Jamie Lynn, although I think I just did some math and that's consistent, was that we anticipate about typically the average is about 3 to 5 forensic child interviews per month for Mason County. And that those are sometimes, correct me if I'm wrong, Sue, but it's not like you don't do more than one a day if it works out schedule wise. So it's not like It's a constant presence in the building either. It's an as needed to be able to schedule these forensic interviews of child victims in criminal cases.
Right.
I'll just kind of dive in and just say I'm completely supportive of utilizing the appropriate space for this. I think Mike had talked to me over the summer, I think, and kind of outlined some of the program details and you know, I appreciate having you all closer to home, not just from the cost savings perspective, which is oftentimes what we all make decisions based on, but just your presence and being able to conduct those interviews locally, I think is going to be better, you know, for our kids and victims and all the way around. So definitely supportive, getting this started and getting you housed as quickly as we can, and whatever we can do to be supportive going forward. You know, I know you have a great advocate in Mike, and Mike always has our ears. So we're with you.
I'll just jump in real quick too. I'm a board member of the Community Action Council.
Oh, hello.
How are you? And so we get updates at every meeting. And just a quick side note, I know that one of your furry little companions is going to be retiring.
Yes, Astro.
Astro is amazing.
Yeah, we're not very happy about it, but you know, he comes first.
He does. He does. Yeah, I can see how he could be such an asset when you're talking to the clients, the victims. Yes. And so I am completely supportive of this, and I am just so excited to see what Mason County is doing, how they're stepping forward and becoming such an advocate for our victims and for our children. And I couldn't thank you guys more for what you guys do. You are amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Can I just pop in because I'm one of Astro's co-handlers? Good morning, everybody. My name is Lisa Wall. I'm a family nurse practitioner at Providence St. Peter Hospital Sexual Assault Clinic and Child Maltreatment Center. We work collaboratively with the forensic interviewers at the Special Victims Unit at our Advocacy Center here in Lacey. I've been doing this for 13 years and so appreciative of being able to really embrace Mason County and all of the support that we've had. It's over 13 years. It's not always been that way, and this is so exciting that we are be able to serve these vulnerable children in the community and make it smooth and decrease the barriers for consistent quality care for the kids. And about Astro, he is retiring. He's pre-tired right now, and he'll be. We are in line for a successor puppy who will be training under Astro's mentorship, so that the I guess we'll call it the chew toy will be passed instead of the baton. So,
did you say he's pre-tired?
Pre-tired, yeah.
He's amazing. He's amazing, and the work that you guys do with his assistance is so needed. So thank you again.
And as you can see in my office, so we are in the midst of a move, and we do have a lot of extra furniture that is not moving with us, and it is all available for whatever needs are in Mason County. And everybody's on board and be able to make that happen.
I too am supportive. I also used to serve on the Community Action Council, toured your establishment, and met with your pre-tired. No, I look forward to again, as I said, the only worry I have that Mike will look into to make sure that it's not needed for that other purpose anymore, which I don't think it is. It probably isn't. They probably found a new way to get around that. But with that being said, thank you for coming down here and talking to us today.
Yeah, I saw, Kat, I saw you turn your camera on. I don't know if that meant you had something you wanted to say or not, but.
No, I'm Kat Scheibner. I'm the CPS supervisor here in Mason County. I've been here for 23 years. I'm going to get emotional, and I'm really sorry, but this means so much to me. I have been wanting our own center for so long, for 23 years. And just the fact that we're talking about this in a group and that we have everyone's support just makes me just really proud to work here and so excited for what this is going to mean for our kids and families. I think Jamie Lynn said something about, it's 25 miles from Mason or from Shelton, but we have a lot of our families that are traveling from Belfair or Union or, Tahuya, or, whatever that takes, it really is a hardship for them. So the fact that we're even talking about this, I'm just so happy and so thankful for your guys' support. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm sorry for getting emotional.
I'm glad you spoke, Kat. We're all a
Well,
little emotional.
And that reminds me too, we keep talking about law enforcement who travels to these interviews. So pre-COVID, CPS workers came as well. So the CPS workers are coming from the Mason County office, and we're still trying to, make allowances and update our policy to allow the CPS workers to attend, which they will, when someday the pandemic is done. But they're also having to drive as well, which takes a lot of time out of their day and just added mileage to their vehicles.
Yeah, which I'm totally fine with us driving, but it's, the families that, and law enforcement. I mean, we know how busy law enforcement is, and, so it's a hardship for them. It's a hardship for the families. So super excited to get this going here.
Me too. I can't wait.
I appreciate you saying that, Kat. Number one. Number two, love your lanyard. But also, I guess I'm in the minority here. I'm the only one that hasn't met Astro. So I guess I'm going to change my position to the caveat that when you get that new puppy, and you're training the new puppy to swing by, I could at least meet the. Yeah. See,
There he is.
Hey, I'm missing out.
Astor is amazing. I have to admit that, when we had our meetings in person, he may have tasted a bit of my food.
Oh, don't tell Tambra. That is you don't know how much trouble I get in for sneaking him treats.
So he saw me do it, so it was okay. I asked first.
I do have one kind of maybe off-topic question. So I had a recent conversation with Peter Jones, our chief public defender in the county, and we've been talking a lot about secondary trauma. And I was just wondering if any of you, maybe could speak to those issues in your field of work, and what we could be doing to help get some additional resources, to folks that are on the front lines that are having issues with that, and how we could just generally be supportive of you all. It's tough work. I can't even imagine what you go through, and so just maybe if any of you would feel comfortable speaking to that particular issue.
Well, as someone who has had ups and downs, and a couple of weeks ago, I admitted to my coworkers I hit the wall. Just, life, current events were just the tipping point for me. The thing that helps the most when we struggle, and we do all have ups and downs, the thing that helps the most is having a really supportive team who allows open discussion of our frustration, our worries, our concerns, and the MDT itself is one of the most healing places for secondary trauma. And I've been a part of the Thurston County MDT for more than 20 years, and it's like the one safe place that you can go to and talk to other people who are walking into the same kind of situation. And so just knowing that there's a safe place that we can gather and talk about things is a huge, huge gift. And the fact that Mason County became a cohesive MDT so quickly speaks to just the strength of the team and how much that support is needed. So I'm going to make a shout out to the team in general and the concept overall. And then say the next most important thing is just to have a robust, stable personal life. And sometimes that's easier to come by than others. But anybody else? What do you guys want to say about secondary trauma?
I think it's hard to put a number on and say this specific, line item will help the secondary trauma. But I think funding our community partners so that we can have a good MDT is definitely the place to start, making sure that all of these community partners are able to make it to the table so that we can have the discussions needed to help these families and to help ourselves. It's my generic cliche.
Yeah, I would piggyback on what Sue said for sure. I mean, this team, you know, we can speak freely. I get a lot of support from this team. I have been known to maybe call Sue on occasion and you know, and yell and scream and whatever, and it's a safe place. And I think, you know, and I want to shout out to Mike for, you know, for making the space available, for being on board with all of this. I mean, I feel like our relationship has grown after we've established MDT. I feel like we can, you know, it's just a really great group of people. Law enforcement is on board. They're always at our MDTs. It's just a really safe place. And so you're right, Kevin, it is, you know, this job is hard for all of us, but I think having each other, having this group of people that we can talk to and really be sort of open and honest and frank about the really messed up things we see every single day is super helpful. So.
Just a side note too, I worked in the prosecutor's office in Arizona, and I was a victim's advocate as well. And now I'm on the Turning Point. I'm a Turning Point board member. And I cannot stress enough how much we appreciate you guys. Now I'm going to get emotional, but you guys are so needed. There's so many kids out there that go through so much, and without your help, I worry where they would be.
Thank you for saying that,
Sharon. Making me cry.
Thank you. That means a lot.
I think tears are a good thing. I get to see a lot of tears in my job. Sometimes I cry too with them.
We can all just blame Mike.
Yeah.
I got broad shoulders. So yeah, I guess I don't know what, as far as the next step, what the commissioners would want to see or have us do, or if this is enough to say we can at least start working with maybe Kelly Frazier, or however you would have us start, like just identifying how to. I mean, the initial steps I think would just involve, I think they want to do a little bit of painting and bring in some fluffy stuffies so that it's, you know, kid friendly, but it's I think they'll do all that, and it's not really any cost or impact to the county. If we
and real quick, you mentioned you thought we had a budget. We do. We absolutely, in our latest grant, wrote it in to be able to, you know, furnish the Mason County Satellite Center however we need. So we will have some furniture left over with our current move, but we do have the budget to take care of that.
Cool.
And then I'm sure that you can just let any of us know if there's additional furniture that you need. We probably all have resources to get those additional items.
Yeah, I'm a little bit. I think they have that covered. And I think next steps, the greater concern would be certainly making sure that the board was involved in. I mean, I think we are going to want. I keep saying they. We're going to want some. Yeah, I think I said county approve. I mean, any before any signs go up, we'll make sure that the county approves both the, you know, how they look, how big they are, and where they're going to go. And before any modifications of the building are even contemplated, we'd want to make sure that, you know, there was some written understanding between the county and the group and how the stuff's going to get paid for and all that kind of stuff. But I think the initial step is just wanting to make sure we have the board's official okay to go ahead and make some arrangements with the county staff to start using that space, and to identify it as our space for the purpose of the grant application that's due.
Again, I need to make sure that it's not still needed for the purpose.
Okay.
I'm 100% supportive.
Yep, absolutely. Resolve that one issue, and then I would just say work with Kelly on getting the other things, getting it moved in.
Assuming once we have a chance to, I'll follow up with you, Commissioner Netherland, to make sure that I do have an understanding of what you're thinking about, and whether it is that or not. If that becomes not an obstacle, then otherwise we're good to start working on it. Perfect.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank
I
you.
will just, one tidbit I'll toss in there for how quickly our end can make things real. The last day to have furniture removed from our existing building, I believe, is the 26th. So we would literally have furniture ready to go that needed to be moved prior to the 26th of this month. So if we don't move it to that building, we'll have to find some place to store it. So that's how ready we are.
Kelly, do you see any? I mean, I threw out there just because I figured that you'd be the one that we'd be coordinating with. Do you have any concerns or comments that we need to know?
I have none. I think it's a great move. And if we do not make that by the 26th, I can house some of that equipment for you until that's ready.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, I'll follow up with you, Commissioner Netherland, and we'll go from there.
Mason County is amazing, right?
Thanks, everybody.
Mason
Thank
County
you guys
rocks.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right, commissioners, do you need a quick break or shall we move into our closed session?
I could use 2 minutes.
Okay. All right, and then just join into the closed session. I believe there's a link. And in the Zoom room, we have Commissioner Netherland, Commissioner Schutte, Dave Windom, Frank Pinter, Ross McDowell, Kelly Frazier, Todd Parker, Sherry Speaks, Annette, Lynn Eaton, Don Twitty, and Patrick Costello. Are we missing anyone? I don't think so. All right, Dave, go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start off with Todd Parker.
All right, good morning, commissioners. First item is amendment to Resolution 3318, which formed the Housing and Behavioral Health Advisory Board. We just had a slight amendment involving membership. So on the source kind of membership, we wanted to make an inclusion for the federally recognized tribes, and then give the board the ability to vote in some non-voting kind of members to be, or serve in a consultative fashion. So whether it be our health officer, maybe somebody from managed care organizations, school districts, kind of a little bit open-ended, depending upon the community need. So just requesting that we move that to the October 20th agenda.
I'll just chime in on that as well. We had a lot of good discussion about this at the advisory board, and the group was very supportive of making these changes. And so just bringing that around and echoing their support.
Sounds good to me. A thumbs up from Commissioner Netherland. So
awesome. All right, then the second item is a new grant from the Department of Commerce. It's the Shelter Program Grant, and work was originally started back in just March as far as potentially rolling out the application and getting some community feedback and that sort of thing. So we'd formed a task force and got a lot of input as far as priorities, checked it with our 5-year plan, which really identified as bringing kind of Community Lifeline as our single adult family shelter, the ability to not only expand the capacity, but move to year-round operations, which this grant would allow for. So we're at that point where Commerce has released the contract, and Community Lifeline has been identified as a recipient to basically what it'll do is finish off some remodeling to expand the female room and then provide the supplemental revenue for year-round operations. So it would be to approve the contract with Community Lifeline. And I request that that be on tomorrow's agenda if possible. It's all signed and ready to go by Tim and Community Lifeline.
Now, did you take this before the city too? Did you get their input on this?
Yes, yes, and that was required for the application.
And the city is okay with making this a year-round shelter?
Yes.
Have you heard something to the contrary, Commissioner?
No, I was just confirming that process had been taken.
Gotcha. So good with me.
Yep, good. Thumbs up from Commissioner Netherland, so we're good.
All right, thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks, Todd.
Okay, the next item I have is Casey. No, he's not. So let's go ahead and go to the consolidated contract amendment number 17. So included in your packet is the whole contract amendment. Now this is part of the consolidated contract. It's you get this every 2 years, and this is the 17th amendment. In this amendment, it adds $351,000 for COVID contact tracing. It adds $29,000 plus in public health emergency response training. It adds $1.389 million for COVID-related costs. And then on our overdose program, it gives an additional $50,000 of reimbursable costs to carry on with the program. That is very typical of a amendment in that it's a small amount of money. It just contributes to what we've already been doing. The others are really definitely within the realm of COVID. And there was some confusion initially over the $1.389.6 million. And in that it was the exact same amount that the county was getting. So in tracking this down, it was a separate contract from two different state agencies with different contract numbers, different deliverables. We've already received our first deliverables on it in that we put together a basic budget, and we've already sent that back to DOH. So we're starting on the deliverables, but we do need to move this forward for signature. Any questions?
And the 1.3, I think they use the same determining criteria for both the county and for Department of Health, right?
Yeah, it sounds like they use the same criteria, and it's probably a population base and a per cap.
Yeah, I'm supportive.
Yep.
Okay. We'll put this on the action agenda. We're already starting to work on the deliverables, and Paige is already working on setting up the funding lines, so we can bring this next week to action agenda. Okay. Moving on. Let's see here. So process adjustment. We briefed this last week, and this is coming back again based on some commissioner feedback. The main document on process adjustment hasn't changed. What has changed are some aspects around the two positions, the pandemic response administrator and the Department of Community Development manager position, or the administrator position. So if we can start with either of those, I would say probably start with the community development piece first, if that's fine. Okay, so on the community development piece, this is not a deputy director, it's an administrator for community development. Covers all the aspects of building, planning, permitting. What we've done is we're reducing one management position. We added another planning position to beef up our capabilities there. And then this position is an increased or enhanced duties for the currently what we have is Kel Rowan is filling in this position, and we wanted to make this more of a permanent, long-term job responsibility. So where I have it on the schedule for today, feedback from the commissioners last week. We have it on the schedule at salary range 40. Questions?
So yeah, I'll jump in. Seems like everybody else is kind of quiet. So I'd like to hear kind of the process on HR review and how we arrived there, and just get some of that perspective before we move forward.
Right. So we ran this to HR, and it's been back and forth a couple of times. And originally I put it forward at a 44. And based on the feedback I got from HR and from commissioners, I pulled that back to a 40. And what that does is it allows this position, when we take into account that we have approved a lead position for the Building Examiner 5 lead, it would actually currently put that position as making more than the manager of the department or that division. So this salary range 40 gives the manager a little bit more. In fact, it'd be about 10% more than the Building Examiner 5 with lead.
So if I may interject as well for a moment, the out of class or the lead pays are generally and historically defined for a certain specific period of time. It's not a open-ended add to the salary scale of an individual or a position. It is in order to cover the responsibilities of a senior manager that's on vacation, out sick, or for other reasons is not available, and is a extra stipend for a specific period of time. We had gotten into a situation with the auditor previously where we had lead pay open for years and years and years without justification, and in some cases even lost the entire purpose of what the lead pay was for. And 10 years later, we're trying to determine why we're paying somebody for lead pay. If there's a change in somebody's job, it needs to be redefined, reclassified, or adjusted for the scale rather than simply assigning them lead pay.
Hey, Dave, in the past, you had mentioned a specific name for a position in there that would probably do all that. My recommendation and request is for you to sit down with HR and discuss that position and looking for a long-term solution instead of a lead pay solution for the future. I can't remember what you called it. You had a name for it. I'll talk to you about it later. I almost have it, but it's not quite there. You had talked about some type of an official name.
Building official?
Building official.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can have that discussion. You can have that with HR here in the near future, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I would feel more comfortable if it was an unopened, it had a definite end date. I know that for lead pay, that's what has been done in the past, and that's I think what we even did last year, and also for COVID.
Right. So we already have 2 other lead positions that we do a justification statement for them yearly. Is that going to continue, or is that something Frank and I need to talk about?
There are 2 positions.
We have one in the permit center that's a lead and one in planning that's a lead.
I would hope you'd have those conversations to find out if it's truly a lead or if we need to be looking at a reclass.
Yeah. Okay, so on this one, we'll take this one back to Frank, and we'll have the discussion on that. So if we're okay, let's go ahead and move on to the pandemic.
Well, hang on, time out. I just want to be clear on what we're doing. Are we okay, commissioners, with the administrator at a range 40 and then asking Dave to go back and look at a potential reclass for the building inspector 5 that lead pay was given to?
So if I may interject for just a moment, from HR's perspective, the salary alignment for that administrator position would be better suited at a range 38. And that's from HR's perspective as it relates to the other commensurate responsibilities within the rest of the salary scale table.
After the discussions that we've been having, as we've seen, originally I was thinking the same thing at the 38, but I think there was some justifications to bring it up to the 40 as requested, as we're looking to reschedule a lot of the areas of the county.
I would feel comfortable with it being a 40 and then looking at the reclass for the lead pay.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't include that. There has to be a conversation for the reclass of the lead pay. I think they're two separate issues, but we are trying as a county to keep that straight. If it's a new set of jobs, we have to look at reclass. Lead pay doesn't fit the criteria any longer.
Yeah, so I would agree. I mean, I'm good moving the administrator at a 40, but as that kind of takes effect, I think we need to look at the reclass and do that in a more defined way versus just extending lead payout in perpetuity. I just think that's cleaner for everybody. It sets a better expectation for staff and allows you to have a clear job description with those different responsibilities in it.
At a range 40, what step?
Well, I mean, again, yeah, I don't know what.
I think I had either step 3 or step 4.
And I think what we were talking about was looking at the ideas of 0 or 1, or some things in between it. But I'd like to have ER or HR bring that forward.
So,
in what way? I mean, HR is saying that it should be at a 38.
Yeah, but when we were talking about the different ways to stretch these things out when it comes to the steps on where to start, and whether or not it can be started at a 0 or a 1 was the original conversation, but then it becomes there's a 0, and then there's discussions about even separating those for the future. If we're going to start a new position that doesn't exist, it would make sense for me to start it at the beginning. But I'm not against if you guys agree to start at a different level.
Commissioners, this is Dawn. Can I weigh in for a second, please?
Sure.
I would like, because we would have to eliminate the other 2 positions, the salary range resolution would not address where the person who is selected to fill the position sits at. So that is addressed in our personnel policy already, that says the director has up to mid-range. If they'd like to go to top step, they have to have HR support services Frank's approval prior to doing that. So that would probably alleviate us needing to do anything special about step placement now, because both the incumbents in the positions being eliminated would be encouraged to apply for this new position.
Correct.
Right. That was
my preference would be go through the interview process and make an offer as we have in the past. I don't know why we would need to set a step here at this point. I would just prefer we adhere to the typical process.
Super. We can do that. We'll do a create, post, and fill. Okay. Any more on that or the lead? Okay. So to be clear, we'll do a create, post, and fill, and then I will get with HR and we'll go back in and discuss the lead position and work that some more.
Great. And HR will take a look at the job description as well. Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. So the next one is the pandemic response administrator. This would be a position created to work in public health and would be tied to the position with COVID-19 response and funding attached. So we have funding available for the rest of this year, actually backdating to March 1st that we can use to pay for this position. And then going into next year, we have foundational public health services money that aligns with this position as well. So we will be able to with current funding and current projected funding, pay for this position out through the end of June of 2021. And where we're coming to a little bit of a crossroads here is my feeling is that it's an exempt position based on the 3 tests from Fair Labor Act. HR has a differing opinion, so we've kind of kicked those back and forth. And we're coming to the commission to ask for the commission's input on their thoughts on this position. Again, it would be under public health, but working primarily out at emergency management in coordinating public health response to